Namaskar to all of you. My name is Gopalakrishnan TC. In this part of the world, names usually come with initials, and the first initial is the native place, and the second one, father's name. So in my case, the initials are TC. T stands for Tiruvannamalai and C for Chandrasekhar. So that's how my name is Gopalakrishnan TC. What I wish to share with you in this video is about a book I have written with the name The Journey into Oneself. The theme of the book may be said to be on universal spirituality, that is, the spirituality not affiliated to any religion or other philosophic systems, but is based on common sense and just the messages from masters like Ramana Maharishi, Adi Shankara, Lao Tzu from China, Jesus Christ, and then other masters like Meister Eckhart from Europe. And in the modern days, masters like Eckhart Tolle and such people. When we pay attention to their messages, we find that we have strayed away from peaceful mind because of the waves in the society. And as a result, we get caught up in what may be called habitual neurosis. So the child grows in an atmosphere of ego based psychology, and it also keeps the same situation. And as a result, the child's habitual neurology is ego based. And we realize that 30, 40, maybe 50, 60 years later, that we have been under the unfortunate situation of this robotic approach to life. The habitual neurology makes us robots. So the question is it possible to dissolve the robot? Yes, but it is not easy. So because we have strayed away from it so much that to return to the source is not easy. Nevertheless, it's not impossible. So we should make all our attempts to lead a peaceful life, notwithstanding the crowding in of life. So many problems and so many waves hit us, but it is possible to lead a peaceful life. And when the emphasis is not so much on success worship, but on understanding how mind can be peaceful while we apply ourselves to the responsibilities. So the book is written with the idea of being a wayside companion so that you can reflect on the items in it and you find that a strange peace descends on you, and then you'll keep supporting it, go from peace to deeper peace. So now we have the second part of the video, which is essentially a matter of slideshow. These slides explain the objectives, the focus of the book, and essentially a matter of bird's eye view of the book. As each slide appears, a cryptic statement will come up, and then I will go into explaining what is behind those statements. So now I'm going to share with you the PPT show. Yes, that's the title of the book, Journey into Oneself. That's the subtitle. It's published by the Collective in Books, UK and USA. That's the facade of the book. What does this book deal with? Mindfulness and inner silence. Mindfulness essentially means a matter of self-awareness, inwardly turned attention. So we become aware of what's going on, how the mind functions, how we are caught up in the internal turbulence and the like. And so it will usually give rise to an inner silence. The second thing about the book is it's based on spirituality beyond belief systems, because belief systems are from localized groups, But the spirituality that we are dealing with here is beyond all divisions of human beings. They apply to, this spirituality applies to all human beings. And we also look into some aspects of afterlife and reincarnation, and then some aspects of peace in practical life. So that gives you a bird's eye view of the contents of the book. Who will benefit from this book? The book can be a wayside companion in the sense that it's more like a friend sitting next to you and giving some suggestions for reflection. And so then you strike your own trail towards your inner self. So it's a wayside companion to those interested in spiritual exploration, and then it can kindle the adventurous attitude and wonderment in the reader. What's the book's focus? Quiet reflections. That is, we become a witness to ourselves and understand how the whole thing transpires from the mind, from the brain, and so on. See, as we move away from the shore into the deeper ocean, some kilometers away from the shore, beyond the continental shelf, the ocean is deep. And the deeper we go, the less turbulent the currents become, which means that we have very serene movements of water layers called as laminar flow, and the turbulence is absent. So serenity reigns in those deep layers of the ocean. And in the same way, when we go into ourselves, the more peaceful our minds become. That's the idea, how to go deeper into ourselves. What will be the benefits of reading the book? Most people are carried away by the apparent, that is, the five sense reports and the intellect dealing with them. That's what constitutes the apparent aspects of life. But people are not generally interested in going beyond that. In universal spirituality, we explore what lies beyond the apparent. As a result, we have this abundant feeling for all living beings, and even uh, to the inanimate things. They have their own life and we become aware of it. And so this feeling of compassion is a natural concomitant to looking at what lies beyond the apparent. Most people are emotionally attached to belief systems, and they derive their feeling of security and satisfaction from those attachments. But they become an obstruction to understanding what lies beyond the apparent. So we have to leave that state of attachment to belief systems and explore outside. As a result, fanaticism will also disappear. What is the fundamental human problem? Fundamental malady underlying all our psychological problems is the habitual neurology. That is, we grow from a childhood, we grow in an atmosphere of ego-based psychology that we see in the grown-ups, and so the child gets inducted into that kind of neurosis, or that's what may be called the habitual neurology. And people, when they act from the habitual neurology, it is generally ego dominated, and all problems arise as a result of that domination. The essence of the habitual neurology, we react from a conditioned brain dominated by the ego. Symptoms of the malady, we are going to see a list of these reactions from habitual neurology. So we are familiar with all this because most of the times our thoughts are dominated by these reactions from the conditioned brain. So the cue is in self-awareness and the inner dive, where we become a witness to ourselves and watch what is going on, how we react, and so on. So that's the self-awareness associated with the inner dive. As a result of this dive, we look at ourselves as a third person. That's the witness attitude. And this witness attitude brings about gradually a mental transformation so that the habitual neurology becomes subsequently weaker and weaker. How does the book help? You're all familiar with the noisy mind based on those symptoms mentioned earlier. And so we become very much annoyed by this. And when we go through the contents of the book, we become gradually released from this noisy mind and its dominance. The noisy mind is responsible for us to behave, for us in behaving like a robot. Obviously, a robot cannot be compassionate. And when the robot is quietened, we have inward integration and peace. Inward integration in the sense the conflicts in the mind begin to disappear and we act in a sort of synergistic way inside, and then the associated peace is a healthy thing. Now we come to a quote from Meister Eckhart. As you would have noticed, he was maybe 1,000 years ago in Europe, and he was considered a mystic because his statements were associated with universal spirituality, not particularly belonging to any belief system. And so he made statements similar to the Advaitic sages in India and other countries. And just one quote is taken from him related to the inner dive. So, whatever be the circumstance, we begin to learn about the inner solitude and then we respond from it rather than from the surface, which is controlled by the habitual neurology. And he also said, go inward, penetrate things, and find God there. So that's the kind of importance he gave to the mystic aspects of life. How can the book's impact count? So we are usually consumed by the reactions from the mind, which is essentially a matter of the habitual neurology. And so we don't move out of the box and explore into the unspoiled consciousness outside the mind. And that consciousness is not conditioned like the human mind. And so we feel more relaxed when we move out of this and into the unspoiled consciousness. The book also deals with some paranormal phenomena such as the near-death experience, out-of-body experience, and the like, and they help us lose the fear of death because we understand our little life in the vast expanse of the whole. And so the fear of death would disappear and it will be replaced by an interest in the afterlife. So that's the main impact, is trying to move into the unspoiled consciousness and also study some paranormal phenomena so we lose the fear of death. That can significantly augment our inner peace. What can be some additional advantages? So we begin to observe ourselves in the totality of what is transpiring, and just like standing back and observing the river flow. So, what does it mean to be an affectionate bystander to ourselves? That's the main advantage of going through the items in the book. So these three things are very important: life, mind, and death. And there is such a thing like non-verbal understanding, which is different from the usual accumulation of knowledge through words. So in the non-verbal understanding, there is no accumulation, and so there is no burden as a result of that accumulation. So we begin to understand these three things beyond words. What is new in this book? So usually, this matter of spirituality is one seriousness, in the sense we have to apply ourselves to it consistently through reflections as often as possible. And so, usually, universal spirituality implies serious reflection, but also the book states that you have to couple it with a light-hearted attitude towards life, what may be called nonchalance usually. And so nonchalance also plays a healthy role in applying ourselves to spirituality. So, in short, it's a question: what is it to be a comedian in the drama of life? Because you see, if you are watching a movie, and whenever the comedian shows up, the audience gets charged because he puts life into the whole thing. And is it possible to be a comedian in our own life, meaning that we are a cheerful person, light-hearted, while also being serious about our reflections? So, in line with those light-hearted attitudes, the book brings up some aspects of Sherlock Holmes stories and Tarzan, and see what place they can have in our spiritual life. Subject areas where this book can be helpful. So, these are the areas where the book can be helpful in terms of reflection and understanding. Some significant contents of the book. So the book can be bought from uh, Amazon.com, Ingram, Barnes and Noble, IndieBound, and some other retailers also. And the link to the book can be obtained from this. If you have any queries, you can always write to me at this email address. Thank you for watching, and all the best to you.